This was easily the most daring and brilliant group of teenage thieves I've ever come across. They actually had the nerve to infiltrate and rob the high-security vault of an underground syndicate casino. To pull it off, the young crew first triggered the building's emergency fire systems, sending wealthy gamblers fleeing in absolute chaos. Capitalizing on the panic, they immediately ambushed the floor managers. The crew took them down effortlessly, one by one. As it turned out, their flawless martial arts skills weren't self-taught. They were passed down by the man who rescued them, their adoptive father. Surprisingly, this elite crew of young thieves didn't rob the syndicate for luxury or power. They did it just to afford a bucket of fried chicken. They looked completely carefree, laughing and joking with one another. But behind their optimistic smiles lay a dark past. To understand how they got here, we have to look back 10 years. A decade ago, a certain building operated not as a sanctuary for youth, but as the heavily guarded headquarters of a sinister child trafficking ring. The syndicate kidnapped vulnerable minors, selling them off to wealthy clients. Even more horrific, if a client rejected a child and returned them, the syndicate ordered the child to be eliminated. During that dark time, a hired operative named Marcus was assigned to one of these grim executions. Marcus desperately needed cash to fund his mother's life-saving surgery, so he took the job without asking questions. His orders were simple. Dispose of a sealed black canvas bag. He loaded the heavy bag into an incinerator drum and prepared to pour fuel over it. Suddenly, the bag shifted, and a faint sound came from inside. Panicking, Marcus sliced the bag open, only to find a terrified little girl staring back at him. She wept, begging for her life. Marcus had a job to do, but his conscience broke. Seconds later, a gunshot echoed through the facility. It was all a clever ruse. Marcus had faked the execution to deceive his employers. Instead of harming the children, he secretly smuggled them out and raised them in the shadows. 10 years later, those rescued children have grown into highly capable young adults. To evade the syndicate's reach, they live hiding inside an abandoned industrial sector. Looking through a cracked window, a young woman named Maya watches a loving mother and child walking down the street. The sight triggers bitter memories of her own biological mother, who heartlessly abandoned her years ago. Maya still carries a deep resentment toward her past, a pain that the rest of the crew understands all too well. They were all discarded by the families who were supposed to protect them. Hey everyone, if you are enjoying this intense tactical recap and want to see how this crew pulls off their ultimate revenge, do me a huge favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel right now. Your support keeps the channel alive, and turning on notifications ensures you never miss our daily cinematic breakdowns. Let's get right back to the action. Seeing that Maya is trapped in a dark headspace, her brother Leo tries to cheer everyone up by suggesting they go out for a massive fried chicken feast. The only problem? They are entirely broke. That's when a wild idea takes shape. A high-stakes heist on a local mob-run casino. Because a standard robbery isn't thrilling enough for them, the four teenagers turn it into a competitive game. They split into two rival duos. The team that manages to secure the cash first gets a free pass from chores, leaving the losing team to handle the cleaning, laundry, and dishes. With the stakes set, the four operatives move out. They neutralize the perimeter guards with surgical precision and slip into the building. Locating the primary vault, they initiate their plan. They trip the alarms, causing massive panic among the gamblers. In the chaos, the crew effortlessly dismantles the security staff using the combat tactics taught to them by Marcus. Suddenly, police sirens wail in the distance. Realizing time is up, they make a break for it. Leo's team reaches the safe only to find it completely cleaned out. Maya's team had beaten them to the punch. However, instead of taking the fortune, Leo only takes a single high-value bill, just enough to buy their fried chicken. They leave the rest of the criminal fortune for the authorities to confiscate. While celebrating at the diner, their phones ring. It's Marcus. Terrified of their father's wrath, the group rushes back to base. Marcus is furious that they broke protocol and risked exposure. He forces them into a grueling target practice drill, lining up targets painted with the faces of the syndicate leaders who once tormented them. Marcus warns them that if the human traffickers ever discover they are alive, it will mean the end for all of them. Maya snaps, questioning how long they have to live like ghosts. She laments that they can't go outside, have no legal identities, and have no future. She declares that living like an invisible phantom is worse than death. Another sibling, Devin, cuts her off, reminding her that they endure this hiding because they chose to live, and they owe their survival entirely to Marcus. Later, Marcus searches the compound and finds Leo aggressively throwing strikes at a heavy punching bag. Like Maya, Leo hates their confinement. Marcus comforts him and reveals a secret. He has secured a small fishing vessel to smuggle the kids out of the country to safety. However, Marcus confesses he won't be joining them. He has unfinished business with the trafficking ring. Leo protests, knowing Marcus is sacrificing himself to save more children. But Marcus asks Leo to step up as the leader and protector of the family once he's gone. Meanwhile, the child trafficking syndicate captures an investigative journalist sniffing around their operations. Despite the journalist begging for his life, mentioning his wife and newborn child, the cartel shows no mercy. They execute him on the spot, framing the murder as a tragic suicide by leaving a forged note. The true orchestrator behind this operation is a highly respected female pediatrician, Dr. Evelyn. To the public, she is a saint who runs a charitable orphanage, but behind closed doors, she is a ruthless monster. During a televised interview, she plays the role of a grieving, benevolent mother, putting on a fake display of warmth that disgusts anyone who knows the truth. At a local elite school, Dr. Evelyn's biological daughter excels in class, making her mother immensely proud. In contrast, a young adopted boy named Toby freezes when asked a question, drawing harsh laughter from his classmates. Toby's adoptive mother, a wealthy woman named Mrs. Vance, feels deeply embarrassed by him. After class, the teacher informs Mrs. Vance that Toby has failed the entry requirements for an advanced academic program. Furious and disappointed, Mrs. Vance decides Toby is defective. When Toby begs to go to the park, her cold demeanor shifts into a sinister smile. She takes him to the playground, but secretly calls the syndicate to return the merchandise, claiming the traffickers lied about the boy's intellectual potential. Wanting to adopt a replacement child, she coordinates a cruel plot with her husband to report Toby as a missing person to avoid suspicion. Left alone in a park maze, Toby frantically searches for his mother, only to run into Marcus, who has been contracted by the syndicate to eliminate him. Nearby, Mrs. Vance puts on an Oscar-worthy performance, crying out for Toby as if he vanished into thin air. Meanwhile, Marcus leads Toby away. He receives a call from a syndicate handler named Ray, who is en route to confirm the kill. Realizing the boy's life is in imminent danger, Marcus plays a recording of the mother's phone call for Toby. Hearing his own adoptive mother demand his execution breaks the young boy's heart. Marcus reassures Toby, promising to protect him. He hands Toby a hidden map to the teenager's secret base, explaining that he will find other children just like him who will protect him. Marcus sends a quick text to Maya, alerting her that a new brother is on the way. Distraught, Toby makes one last call to his mother from a public payphone. When she answers, he remains silent, weeping in the pouring rain as he hears his adoptive parents casually discussing his disposal. The harsh reality sets in. Marcus was telling the truth. Toby successfully navigates to the safe house and rings the bell, where the older siblings realize this is the boy Marcus warned them about. Back at the drop point, Ray arrives demanding to see the body. Marcus points to a heavy iron shipping crate. Before Ray can check, the syndicate's ruthless director arrives with an execution squad. Without a word of explanation, the director guns Ray down for his incompetence. The director then commands Marcus to open the crate. Sensing the trap, Marcus draws his weapon, looking the director dead in the eye. He asks the monster if he has ever felt remorse for the innocent lives he destroyed. The director doesn't care. A brutal one-versus-many gunfight erupts. Outnumbered, Marcus shifts his aim and fires a precise round directly into a nearby gas line, triggering a massive, blinding explosion to make his final escape. Before they could even give chase, Marcus slammed his foot on the gas and tore away from the scene. Meanwhile, back at the hideout, the group managed to scrape together a modest birthday cake for Toby. For them, the moment the young boy stepped through their door wasn't just a rescue. It was a rebirth. Toby ate every single bite, tears streaming down his face. But the quiet moment was shattered when the reflection of police lights flashed past the window. Instantly, the crew activated their high-frequency radio scanner to eavesdrop on the local authorities. The officers outside were actively searching for Toby, leaving the siblings highly suspicious about how the police had mobilized so quickly. Leo immediately questioned Toby about his journey to the safe house, asking if he had contacted anyone or been spotted. Toby quietly confessed that he had used a payphone to call his mother. The revelation sent shockwaves through the room. Realizing Marcus's location had likely been compromised, Devin didn't hesitate. She threw herself onto her motorcycle and sped off into the night to find him. Miles away, Marcus was caught in a high-speed pursuit, with Director Jung's syndicate trucks closing in. A hail of gunfire tore through Marcus's tires, causing him to lose total control of the vehicle. The car flipped violently over the guardrail, plunging deep into a ravine. In a matter of seconds, the wreckage erupted into a massive fireball, right before Devin's eyes. Standing in the pouring rain, Devin wept, her mind flashing back to the day Marcus had saved her life. She remembered sitting terrified in a dark corner while Marcus risked everything to face cold-blooded killers for her. Back then, she had walked up to him and handed him a small towel embroidered with her name, a simple gesture that had deeply moved the hardened operative. Marcus had brought her to an abandoned public bathhouse, a place they would call home for the next decade. One by one, the other 3 orphans were rescued by Marcus and brought to the exact same sanctuary. Together, these 5 outcasts lived happily, functioning as a real family. This hidden facility was the birthplace of their second chance at life. Back in the present, local news stations began broadcasting reports of Marcus's fiery crash. However, investigators noted that no remains were found at the scene. Because the cause was undetermined, the authorities simply chalked it up to an accidental crash or an intentional suicide. Maya refused to accept the heartbreaking news. Consumed by grief and anger, she turned on Toby, blaming his reckless phone call for destroying their father. Seeing her sister lose control, Devin immediately stepped in and slapped Maya across the face to snap her out of the hysteria. Right then, the doorbell rang. Outside stood 2 field operatives from the child trafficking syndicate. They called out for Toby, claiming his mother was desperately looking for him and wanted to apologize. Sensing the trap, Leo tightly covered Toby's mouth to keep him from making a sound. Hearing no signs of life inside, the operatives finally gave up and left. Realizing their sanctuary was completely compromised, Devin ordered everyone to pack their essentials and prepare to evacuate. While clearing out the main office, Devin unlocked a hidden safe and discovered a thick ledger. Inside was a comprehensive database of every child the syndicate had ever discarded, alongside a written confession from Marcus. In the letters, Marcus admitted that he had been suspicious of his handlers from the very beginning. The syndicate told him he was merely incinerating trash, but the massive payouts he received made no sense for simple waste disposal. It wasn't until he looked into Devin's eyes all those years ago that the horrifying truth finally clicked. In her reflection, he saw the faces of all the innocent children he had failed to save. To atone for his sins, Marcus dedicated his life to rescuing Devin and the others. Despite his heroism, Marcus wrote that he still viewed himself as a monster, unworthy of forgiveness or pity. Alongside the ledger was a voice recorder. Devin pressed play, listening to a recorded call from a wealthy client named Arthur, demanding to cancel an adoption because the child failed to meet his quality standards. A second recording features another elite client making the exact same cold-blooded request. Suddenly, Devin's phone buzzed with an encrypted text from an anonymous ally. The message revealed that a cargo transport ship would be departing the regional port at precisely 1 a.m. on Wednesday. Before they moved out, Devin looked at her siblings and told them to leave their painful pasts behind. Marcus's final wish was for them to be entirely free, and once they boarded that ship, they would never have to live like fugitives again. Just as she finished speaking, a massive explosion rocked the front of the compound. Director Jung and his cleanup crew had breached the perimeter. Moving quickly, Leo grabbed a heavy gas canister, placed it directly over the open flame of the kitchen stove, and fled. With the front entrance blocked by gunfire, the siblings smashed through the rear exit to escape into the alleyways. Jung's mercenaries flooded the building only to find an empty room, right as Leo's improvised explosive reached critical mass. The resulting blast leveled the interior, allowing the siblings to vanish completely into the night. The following morning at school, the students were gossiping about Toby's sudden disappearance. Whispers rippled through the hallways that he had either been committed to a private asylum or vanished without a trace. Dr. Evelyn's daughter, who considered Toby her closest friend, found the rumors deeply unsettling. On the drive home, Dr. Evelyn noticed her daughter's somber mood and offered a chilling reminder. She sternly instructed her daughter to always maintain a flawless appearance and to stand out above everyone else no matter what. Dr. Evelyn boasted that during her own school years, she believed she would literally die if she didn't secure the #1 spot. She survived, she explained, because she simply refused to ever lose. The cold words sent a visible shiver down her daughter's spine. Seeking answers, the young girl later visited her uncle, Director Jung, expressing her deep concern for Toby and her hopes that he was safe. Jung merely brushed her off and told her to go home. That night, Devin's group arrived at a secluded seafood restaurant by the docks. The elderly owner asked where Marcus was, but the heavy silence from the group gave him his answer. Ushering them inside to avoid prying eyes, the owner handed Devin a thick envelope of cash to fund their escape. Though Devin tried to refuse, the man insisted, immediately leading the crew to a pair of his dockworkers who were instructed to smuggle them out. The two workers escorted the siblings into an empty shipping container. But before anyone realized what was happening, the heavy iron doors were slammed shut and padlocked from the outside. They had been sold out. Fortunately, Leo was carrying a concealed taser and managed to ambush one of the corrupt workers the moment the door was cracked open. Simultaneously, a fleet of syndicate vehicles arrived at the docks, forcing the siblings to scatter across the yard. Leo and Maya hid inside a cargo crate packed with industrial fireworks. Seeing the mercenaries closing in, Leo signaled Maya to draw their attention while he prepped the fuses. The moment the guards swarmed the area, Leo ignited the fireworks, sending a blinding, chaotic barrage of explosions directly into the enemy lines. In the utter panic, Leo and Maya managed to hijack one of the syndicate's own vehicles. Elsewhere in the shipyard, Devin found herself cornered, walking straight into the path of Director Jung. Pressing a loaded pistol directly against her forehead, Jung sneered, calling her nothing but worthless refuse. Reacting with lightning speed, Devin slapped the firearm aside, stripping the ammunition magazine completely out of the weapon as they slammed into a brutal hand-to-hand struggle. After a fierce exchange of strikes, Devin gained the upper hand, snatching the weapon back and chambering around. Instead of executing the director, she fired a warning shot directly into the metal container behind him, shattering his confidence. Hearing her siblings honking the horn of their stolen getaway car, Devin sprinted over, jumped into the passenger seat, and the crew sped out of the harbor safely. The very next morning, Devin fired up the dashboard media player and played the damning audio recording she had secured from the safe. As the audio filled the car, the crew listened in stunned silence to the confessions of the elite families who had discarded them. They hadn't abandoned these kids due to financial ruin. They did it because they viewed them as defective prototypes who failed to meet their absurdly high expectations, returning them to the syndicate without a shred of mercy. Devin was determined to uncover the truth behind why this organization was so desperate to erase them, especially the true identity of the Shadow Director, the one puppet master Marcus had spent a decade trying to unmask. According to the intelligence files Marcus had secretly compiled, there was a recurring photo of a high-level syndicate board member who always wore a unique, heavy silver signet ring. Staring at the image, Maya gasped as a core memory unlocked. She had seen that exact ring before. It belonged to the prestigious academy director who also happened to be her former adoptive father. He had used his position of absolute authority to psychologically manipulate and isolate Maya for years, before orchestrating her abduction when she began to question his methods. Without wasting a second, the crew mobilized to track down the director's son. After trailing him to an upscale lounge, Devon waited until he walked out and smoothly approached him. She asked if he was looking for a private executive driver and slipped him a custom business card. He took the bait, hiring her on the spot to drive him back to his private estate, completely unaware that Leo and Maya were tailing his vehicle closely from behind. When they arrived at the estate, the son grew suspicious and demanded to see Devon's commercial driver's license, asking intrusive questions about her background before offering to invite her inside for a drink. Playing along with the sting operation, Devon claimed she was desperate for cash and would take any high-paying assignment, adding that she knew an associate who specialized in high-end data corporate consulting who might fit his next project better. Intrigued by the prospect of gaining an insider edge, the son eagerly told Devon to call the associate up. Moments later, Leo arrived at the front door disguised as a private courier delivering sensitive documents. The son eagerly opened the door to claim his prize, but the moment he stepped inside, his aggressive demeanor returned as he tried to corner Leo. Unable to tolerate the man's entitlement any longer, Leo leveled him with a sharp strike to the jaw. Right on cue, Maya and the rest of the squad breached the perimeter. Maya drew her weapon, forcing the corrupt heir to his knees before the crew securely bound him to a chair. Maya demanded to know the current location of her adoptive mother. Realizing Maya was the discarded daughter from his past, the man let out a sinister laugh, mocking her appearance. Without hesitation, Maya struck him across the face, pressing the weapon closer and demanding answers. When he trembled and claimed she had simply moved away, Maya threatened to leak the highly encrypted corporate extortion files found on his personal phone. Devon backed her up, playing an audio clip of his own voice detailing illegal black market financial trades. Breaking under the pressure, the son confessed that Maya's adoptive mother had been forcefully committed to a high-security private asylum. He explained that after Maya went missing years ago, the mother had suffered a massive psychological breakdown trying to find her. He then dropped a massive bombshell. The person who had ordered Maya's elimination a decade ago wasn't the mother, it was him. He had intercepted the mother's phone to send the forged coordinates that led to Maya's abduction, keeping the mother completely in the dark. Overwhelmed by the raw truth, Maya fired a round in absolute rage, the deafening echo startling Leo, who was keeping watch outside. Fortunately, Maya purposely pulled the shot, using the blast purely to shatter her captor's composure. As sirens began to wail in the distance, indicating local security had been tripped, Devon scanned the room and spotted an exclusive VIP syndicate access card hidden inside the desk drawer. She demanded to know who had issued the card, but the son refused to speak, terrified that the syndicate's cleanup crew would execute him for breaking security protocols. From the courtyard, Leo radioed the team to move immediately as local authorities were closing in. But as Leo sprinted toward the perimeter fence, he ran directly into a squad of syndicate enforcers who had arrived to silence the witness. Leo fought valiantly but was ultimately overwhelmed and captured. Inside the estate, Director Jung and his elite cleanup crew stepped into the study, leaving the son completely isolated. Ignoring his frantic pleas for mercy, Jung coldly stepped forward with a lethal chemical injection, terminating the asset. To Jung, leaving someone so compromised alive was a liability the organization couldn't afford. At the same time, Devon and the remaining crew launched a daring counter-ambush, successfully cutting Leo free from his bounds. But their evasion window closed instantly as Jung's main force spotted them, forcing the siblings into a frantic sprint across the estate grounds. Spotting them from the rooftop, Jung opened fire with an automatic rifle, but the squad utilized tactical evasion maneuvers to avoid the incoming rounds. With syndicate enforcers blocking every primary exit, Devon opened defensive fire to hold the perimeter line, while Leo and Maya coordinated to dismantle a secondary security team blocking the service gates. Working in perfect tandem, they cleared the path. Meanwhile, Jung pinned Devon down with a relentless barrage, trapping her in a blind corner. Just as it seemed her position would be overrun, a fleet of local police cruisers flooded the estate gates. Capitalizing on the chaos, Devon exposed herself to the spotlight to draw the law enforcement's attention, knowing Jung wouldn't dare open fire on federal officers. Before the police could secure her, Leo pulled up in a hijacked security van, dragging Devon inside to the complete shock of the pursuing officers. Following the disastrous operation, Jung briefed Dr. Evelyn on the asset breach. Enraged by the escape, Dr. Evelyn issued an absolute directive. Jung was to capture Devon alive at all costs. It was now undeniable that Dr. Evelyn was the true architect behind the entire elimination protocol. Devon led the battered crew to a dilapidated, abandoned safe house to regroup. She apologized deeply to her siblings for failing to secure a safer extraction point, but the group reassured her, stating that any place where they stood together was a palace compared to where they started. Wasting no time, they began converting the dusty space into a tactical operations base, securing a safe perimeter for the night. As they rested, Leo quietly asked Devon about her own biological parents, wondering if somewhere out there, at least one of their original families had truly cared for them. Devon's expression softened with a hint of sorrow as she admitted she once had a protective mother, but the woman had become completely corrupted by the syndicate's obsession with genetic and academic perfection. Meanwhile, Dr. Evelyn's daughter visited the Vance residence to ask about Toby's whereabouts. The moment the daughter mentioned Toby, Mrs. Vance put on a flawless performance, weeping falsely and pretending to be heartbroken over her missing son, shamelessly claiming the family was exhausting every resource to bring him home. The next morning, federal investigators breached the crew's former industrial hideout. Inside, Inspector Choi discovered a weathered family photograph featuring Devin, Marcus, and the rest of the siblings. Simultaneously, his tech team called with a breakthrough. They had traced the encrypted satellite phone found at Marcus's ravine crash site. The account belonged to Marcus himself. Comparing the federal database photo with the recovered safehouse portrait, Choi realized Marcus was the common denominator connecting all of these missing high-profile youths. Back at the temporary safehouse, the siblings analyzed the VIP access card Devin had liberated from the estate, trying to decipher what highly secured facility it unlocked. Their brainstorm was interrupted by a breaking news report. The director's son had been found dead in his apartment, and the media was broadcasting leaked security footage of Devin's crew breaching the building. The room filled with intense panic as they realized they were now the prime suspects in a high-profile homicide investigation. In the middle of the tension, the son's encrypted burner phone began to ring. It was Maya's adoptive mother calling from inside the restricted medical ward. Maya answers the call, speaking her mother's name for the first time in 10 years. On the other end, the mother wept hysterically, speaking in code to protect Maya from the guards monitoring her. She pretended she was speaking to her husband, telling him she was doing fine and warning him not to bring their daughter to the upcoming corporate showcase because the girl was too busy preparing for her final evaluations. She added that once she was officially cleared by the medical board, she would attend the showcase with her daughter personally. Hearing her mother's voice and realizing she was actively trying to shield her from danger, Maya broke down in tears. The mother abruptly hung up to avoid the watchful eye of Director Jung, who had just entered her ward. Recognizing the incoming frequency, Jung stepped up to the mother, whispering a chilling threat, asking if she truly believed her daughter would be foolish enough to come rescue her. Terrified, the mother clutched the device to her chest, fighting back her tears. Back at the base, Devin made an executive decision. They were going to infiltrate the high-security private asylum to extract Maya's mother. She was the only one left who knew the master encryption key for the VIP access card. At that exact moment, Dr. Evelyn was meeting with an elite foreign investor at a private cathedral. The investor required a highly gifted youth to inherit their corporate estate, and the prime candidate they demanded was Dr. Evelyn's own top-tier daughter. That night, Devin's squad executed a flawless breach into the asylum's restricted wing. However, their advance was cut short by a heavily reinforced biometric security door. As Devin prepared to bypass the system, a syndicate deep-cover operative disguised as medical staff ambushed them, wielding a tactical blade. Devin and Leo neutralized the threat with swift martial arts precision, but the commotion alerted a massive wave of syndicate security guards. Splitting up to maximize their chances, Devin and Leo drew the heavy security forces down the primary corridor, buying critical time for Maya and Leo to navigate the sublevels. After a frantic search through the secure wings, Maya finally located her mother's room. Defeating the lone remaining guard effortlessly, Maya threw open the door and tightly embraced her mother, apologizing deeply for ever believing she had been abandoned. Inside the secure medical room, Maya desperately confronts her mother, demanding to know why her adoption was kept a secret for so long. Her mother breaks down in tears, explaining that from the very first day they met, she loved Maya as her own. She begs Maya to run away and never look back, denying any deep knowledge of the syndicate's true scope. But Maya refuses to leave her behind, pulling her out into the hallway. Before they can escape the wing, two syndicate operatives disguised as medical staff ambush them. A brutal clash erupts. Moving with rapid tactical precision, Leo deploys a stun gun to neutralize the first guard, while Maya floors the second. Suddenly, a heavy wave of backup enforcers floods the corridor. Realizing she will only slow the kids down, Maya's mother makes a heartbreaking choice. She breaks away, using her own body to barricade the heavy hallway doors, blocking the advancing guards so the teenagers can escape. In another wing of the facility, Devin and Leo are locked in a fierce hand-to-hand struggle against Director Jung. Jung initially overpowers them with heavy strikes, but the siblings quickly adapt. Utilizing their flawless tactical synchronization, Devin and Leo coordinate their movements to leave Jung entirely defensive. Hearing reinforcements approaching, the duo shatters a nearby window, leaping out into the courtyard below. Outside, they intercept Maya and Leo sprinting across the grounds. They successfully breach the perimeter, but the mood is heavy. They were forced to leave Maya's mother behind. Following the breach, a heavily bandaged Director Jung returns to his private quarters to tend to his wounds. Dr. Evelyn arrives shortly after, comforting him and reminding him that he is her most trusted shadow operative, the one she rescued years ago to execute her darkest commands. Yet, despite his absolute loyalty, Jung has never once referred to her as his mother. Back at the temporary safe house, Leo urges everyone to maintain their composure. He reveals that during the chaotic shipyard escape the previous night, he successfully planted a tracking device on a syndicate vehicle. Using the live telemetry data, the crew can now actively monitor the organization's real-time movements. Guided by the tracker, Devin's squad locates a heavily fortified, unmarked facility on the outskirts of the city. As night falls, a fleet of high-end luxury sedans begins arriving at the secure gates. The siblings realize that the VIP card Devin previously liberated is the exclusive credential needed to breach the entrance. Wasting no time, Devin and Leo disguise themselves as elite prospective clients and calmly walk through the primary security checkpoint. Per protocol, every high-profile guest inside is required to wear an elegant masquerade mask to preserve absolute anonymity. As Devin and Leo navigate the main ballroom, the horrifying reality of the syndicate's true enterprise is laid bare. This isn't just a corporate network. It is an elite, high-stakes genetic auction. The master of ceremonies takes the stage, presenting a child born via a highly vetted, premium surrogate. The child's genetic pedigree is touted as absolute perfection. A biological father from an elite engineering program, and a mother who was a top-tier medical prodigy. This top 1% genetic profile commands a staggering starting bid of $250,000, backed by a full financial guarantee against any developmental defects. Billionaires in masquerade masks are literally bidding on human lives like luxury sports cars, and the price is skyrocketing past $500,000 in mere seconds. If you want to see how Devin and her crew dismantle this sick, high-society breeding ring from the inside out, smash that like button and subscribe right now. Because this rescue mission is about to become an all-out war. Overwhelmed by pure disgust, Devin rushes into the secure restroom to catch her breath. As she steps back out into the corridor, she catches a glimpse of an unmasked woman passing by. An icy wave of familiarity washes over her, reminding her of Dr. Evelyn's ruthless obsession with genetic perfection. Years ago, Evelyn had even callously eliminated her own husband the moment she deemed him an intellectual liability to the family pedigree. Meanwhile, federal investigators are making their own breakthroughs. Reviewing a safe-house family portrait, Inspector Choi notices that one of the rescued boys bears an uncanny resemblance to the son of an elite government official, Congressman Vance. A boy who officially passed away 3 years prior. Bypassing protocol, Inspector Choi marches directly into Congressman Vance's private office. Choi slams the safe-house photograph onto the desk, confronting the politician directly. The congressman turns visibly pale, realizing his son is alive, but aggressively orders the investigator out of his office, demanding he stop unearthing his family's history. Back at the safe house, the siblings connect the final pieces of the puzzle. They realize these children aren't traditional orphans. They are engineered assets created through carefully sourced, premium genetic donors who have absolutely no idea their genetic material is being used to fuel an underground human manufacturing facility. Reviewing the high-definition surveillance footage captured from the auction floor, Devin locks onto a specific target, an elite medical student known for her flawless academic record. The following evening, Devin tracks the student to an upscale downtown lounge. Waiting until the target leaves her belongings unattended, Devin smoothly liberates the girl's VIP credential. Stepping out to the valet line, Devin presents the stolen card to a deep-cover syndicate driver and slips into the back of a secure transport vehicle. She is escorted straight to a heavily guarded, state-of-the-art medical compound to infiltrate the heart of the operation. Simultaneously, a furious Congressman Vance arrives at Dr. Evelyn's private estate, demanding to know why federal investigators are suddenly breathing down his neck. Dr. Evelyn calmly looks up, showing zero fear. She coldly reminds the politician that if the public ever discovers a sitting congressman faked his own son's demise to protect his political standing after a failed corporate placement, his entire career will instantly collapse. Deflated and left with zero leverage, the congressman quietly asks what her ultimate objective truly is. Dr. Evelyn looks out the window, her expression entirely serene. She replies that her goal is simply to restore absolute order to an imperfect, flawed society, by entirely replacing the natural order with an engineered, perfect human race. Dr. Evelyn proposes a dark transaction to Congressman Vance. Use his political influence to deregulate reproductive laws, and she will permanently erase all federal records of his son's survival. While the corrupt deal is being struck, the young women inside the medical facility are systematically sedated and wheeled toward surgical extraction rooms. Acting fast, Devin neutralizes a staff nurse in an administrative corridor, stripping the woman of her uniform and slipping it on to blend in perfectly. At that exact moment, Director Jung arrives at the facility escorting Dr. Evelyn's own top-tier adopted daughter, Chloe. Obsessed with securing the ultimate genetic blueprint, Dr. Evelyn actually intends to harvest her own daughter's premium DNA cells to engineer an even more flawless generation of assets. Chloe follows the directives blindly, having absolutely no idea what horrific procedure she is facing. Suddenly, a floor supervisor discovers the unconscious nurse Devin had hidden. The facility's automated lockdown alarms instantly blare across the PA system. Realizing her cover is blown, Devin breaks into a sprint. Through her earpiece, Leo feeds her the blueprints of the facility's central mainframe. He guides her directly to the secure server room, where Devin plugs in an encrypted data drive for Leo to hack remotely from the safe house. Through the remote connection, Leo successfully bypasses the firewalls, uncovering a massive digital directory containing the identities of thousands of ultra-wealthy international clients. The files detail a horrific eugenics program, showing how the syndicate systematically isolates desirable genetic traits while entirely discarding substandard human lives. Receiving the breach report, Jung realizes an enemy operative is active in the server sector. He triggers a maximum security containment protocol, sealing all pneumatic doors. Down the hall, An oblivious floor nurse orders a disguised Devon to assist with the next extraction. With no room to hesitate, Devon rolls the gurney into the surgical suite. She is struck with absolute horror when she realizes the young girl prepped on the table is Chloe. Dr. Evelyn is so completely consumed by her twisted vision of perfection that she is literally preparing to harvest her own daughter on the surgical table. Before Devon can formulate a rescue plan, a senior surgeon knocks on the door, forcing Devon to slip out into the corridor to avoid exposing her identity. Outside, the safe house crew suddenly loses all communication with Devon as the lockdown jams their frequencies. Desperate, Toby manages to route an encrypted patch call directly to Chloe's personal device, begging her to immediately run out through the service exit. Meanwhile, a patrol of syndicate enforcers spots Devon and gives chase. Cornered, Devon throws herself into an executive elevator, but the security override glitches, forcing the lift down into a heavily classified subterranean level. When the doors slide open, Devon steps into a dystopian archive room. The walls are lined with clinical logs detailing every child the facility has ever manufactured, chillingly categorized into premium-tier assets and defective rejects earmarked for elimination. Before she can process the horror, Director Jung and his heavy enforcers batter down the security doors. Devon scrambles into a narrow overhead ventilation duct, narrowly escaping their grasp. Emerging into the main atrium, Devon is instantly cornered by a battalion of security guards, demanding a physical identity check. When the chief officer approaches, Devon levels him with a powerful left hook, snatching his sidearm and using him as a human shield. Showing total disregard for his own men, Director Jung steps into the hall and opens fire directly through his own guard. Devon drops the shield and executes a tactical dive, retreating backward into the high-tech crossbreeding laboratory. Jung and his mercenaries lower their firearms, terrified that a stray bullet will destroy decades of priceless genetic data. Instead, they draw tactical blades and begin a silent hunt through the dark rows of laboratory pods. Using the shadows to her advantage, Devon utilizes her close quarters training to silently dismantle the mercenaries one by one. But just as she clears the final row, Jung blindsided her, pinning her to the deck with his weapon pressed against her skull. Exhausted and outnumbered, Devon is ultimately overpowered. Jung signals his remaining guards to drag Devon out toward the courtyard, but the syndicate underestimates her. During the struggle, Devon had secretly primed a localized explosive charge she liberated from the security office, dropping it directly next to the primary chemical gas line. By the time Jung notices the flashing countdown timer on the deck, it is too late. Devon breaks from her guard's grip and dives for cover just as the line detonates, triggering a massive, earth-shattering explosion that rips the facility apart. Moments later, a cold, unbothered Dr. Evelyn walks through the smoking ruins of the courtyard. Both Director Jung and Devon have survived the blast, but lay severely injured and bleeding amidst the debris. Dr. Evelyn walks right past her loyal enforcer and kneels directly beside her biological daughter, Devon. Her life is the shadow architect behind the entire nightmare. If you enjoyed this recap, check out the next video on the left side, you will enjoy it too. Winking face with tongue.